Hey, hey, hey. Oh my goodness. Welcome, welcome. I'm so excited to be here. This is my first time ever doing live on YouTube. I was say, where am I again? First time ever doing live on YouTube. So I'm very excited. I hope you guys are excited to get some of your questions answered. And do let me know where you are from or where you're streaming in from or logging in from, and where in the world are you? I am not in the US, which I haven't been for a few years. I've been in Mexico for 3 years, but now um, I am here in Spain. I came over to do some work and I really, really loved it here. So now this is where I'm going to live. So I'm going to be living here in Spain for a while. So, but yeah, I am just really excited to be here. Actually, nervous to be here because, again, I've never done a live on YouTube, and I haven't done a whole lot of lives, even in general, like anywhere. I haven't done TikTok yet. I've done a live on. I've done lots of lives with Parish on her platform, official. Um, with Parish Michelle Blair, official sexy spirit. I've done a lot of lives with her, and that has been good. So now I'm going to do this on my own. And so, yeah, we'll see who's going to join us this evening. I hope you have a nice libation, maybe some tea, some wine. I have or maybe you have some water, some cheese and crackers. I know some of you guys are just getting off work. I am 6 hours ahead of the East Coast, so it is 1 a.m. here. And yeah, so I'm like, keep your eyes open, don't fall asleep. You can do this. But yeah, I'm in Costa del Sol. I am in the Malaga province. It's really beautiful, although it's gotten a little chilly. I haven't been any place cold in a while, and it's gotten a little chilly here already. But it's still nice. It's different, it's a whole different thing. But I wanted to go live because I wanted to be able to really get with people directly and answer their questions. I pop in on a lot of the groups on Facebook and try to answer questions as much as I can, but sometimes I'll pop in, I'll see a question that I could answer and it's already got 72 responses, so I'm like, maybe not. So when I can, I do definitely get to them and try to answer them. I try to be, an added value to as many of the groups that I can, whether it's the poly groups or the swinging groups, the Hito groups, the lifestyle groups, the goddess groups. So I am in a lot of different groups. One of the things I really wanted to talk about was kind of how I even got to where I am now with regards to um, being in the lifestyle, being polyamorous, being open, being kinky, like the whole 9 yards, to give you guys a little backstory. I think I've given it a lot of times before, like in my podcast, but um, people still don't quite know that I've been in this community for some time now. So it is, yeah, it's been exciting. But anyway, I have been on this journey for a little over 16, maybe 17 years now. Within my 25-year marriage, we were 13 years, no, 12 years ethically monogamous, and in 13 years ethically non-monogamous. So we didn't have any issues with infidelity. We didn't come into the ethical non-monogamy community through crisis. Some people position. But hello, how are you? Let me know. Let me know where you guys are in from. And but yeah, no, we didn't. We didn't come in through crisis. We went took a trip to hedonism with knowing we went with a non like swinger group with no intention of ever. We knew nothing about swinging. Yeah, we just knew that you could be naked on the beach, and I wanted to go be naked on the beach and not have any tan lines. And we get there, and lo and behold, some of the first people that we meet are swingers. So I had all of these questions. Hi, guys. Welcome, welcome. How are you? Hey, baby. How are you, Jamal? And who I also met at Hito. Did we meet at Hito, Jamal? Several years into our own uh, time in the community. But yeah, so we get there and we meet these swingers, and I am just flabbergasted, right? I'm just like, what do you mean you're having relations with others? Like, why? Like, why would you do that? No, they're not shy at all. They're not shy at all. But I had all these questions like, why would you do that? Like who are you doing these things with? And where are you doing them? How are you doing them? I just a whole week, of questions from everybody that would, take the time to answer me. And then, we get home and we started talking about, is this something we want to do? Do we want to get involved? And we kind of concluded that we did not for a number of different reasons, but there was options. I was very interested in having an open marriage, and I found this article on the benefits of an open marriage that was actually written from a husband's perspective as to why they opened their marriage. So I showed it to my husband. I'm like, look at this. We can do this. And he's like, what are you talking about? Why would we? Are you just trying to, fool me in some kind of like, no, we should do this. We were both traveling for work in and out of the state. We were living in North Carolina at the time. And so we kind of set our boundaries. Now, mind you, we had 347 boundaries, like a lot of people do when you first start, because you're trying to protect the relationship. And, you soon find out that there's really nothing to protect. But we had all these boundaries. Like, we couldn't have relations with anybody in the whole state of North Carolina. The whole state of North Carolina was off limits. uh no, in-laws, no co-workers, no hotel staff. We didn't want to, get anybody in the hotel in trouble. And and then if when you had, we call it an excursion, because we did everything separately. When you had an excursion, you only had an hour. I don't know why we only had an hour. I don't know who made up this time frame that you only had an hour, but you only had an hour, and you had to do it within that time frame. And so that's kind of how we got started. And then eventually we kind of backed into the swinging thing. And then several years later, I also kind of transitioned into polyamory and kink, and he did not. He just kind of stayed lifestyle, which was totally fine, because we were not attached at the hip. So, hey, Jamal, how are you? That's how it always goes at Hito. Where are you now, Jamal? Are you in the southern states? Oh, thank you. I'm feeling good. It's nice here. I'm feeling really good. It's good. It's good. Um, you're in Key West. Cool, cool. It's pouring rain here, and it's gotten chilly, so I have to get my stuff sent to me. I left all my stuff in Mexico. But so anyway, so that's kind of how we, transition. We transition from, open to swinging, and then polyamory and kink, and that was kind of what I did. But I did want to cover some of the three most common ethical non-monogamous challenges. And as you can imagine, the first challenge is communication breakdowns. And although we know in our own relationships that we're supposed to communicate, right? Everybody says, oh, communication is so important, but we all don't have the skill. And one of the most important skills for communicating, especially in ethical non-monogamy, is the ability to be radically honest. Jamal has that ability. Swinger headquarters. That is Hito for sure. Or his Key West Swinger headquarters. I'm sorry. But that is the ability to communicate, like to be radically honest and to communicate authentically, because we don't want to hurt our partner's feelings, right? So a lot of times we don't really say the things that we want to say, or we don't say the things that we want to do because we don't think our partner's going to approve, we don't think they're going to agree. And so we kind of bounce around like, well, how do you feel? And what about this? And maybe I'll do that. And I don't know. And you just prolong the inevitable. You have to learn to use your words. You have to learn to literally say the things that you don't want to say. And what? Ooh, and lots of the couples are fully bi, so it's a lot of fun for me. You've been behaving lately. I don't believe you've been behaving lately, Jamal. Well, you might be behaving for you, but others would probably call that over the top, you know? Oh yeah. Well, that's nice to have bi couples. That's when both partners are bi. That's like that's hella fun, That I need to see proof of that. Could you send me the video? They won't mind. Just send me a little video. But um, so one of the things is really, really important about communicating again is that radical honesty and using your words. We are so afraid that if we say to our partner, I want to do X, Y, and Z, or I don't want to do X, Y, and Z, we start telling the story to ourselves that, they're not going to agree, they're going to leave me, they're going to divorce me, they're going to shame me, they're going to judge me. And so many of you are kind of living either undercover or in fear or in denial, and you're not living life to its fullest because you are so afraid to do the things that you want to do. You fired your videographer and she was the one that liked to take pictures. Oh. Oh yeah, well, I'm sure you will find a new videographer. Um, So wait, stick with me, Jamal. Stick with me in the communication thing. You're throwing me off here. Not really. I'm teasing. But being radically honest and being, communicating authentically. And so, what does that mean for you, right? What does it mean to communicate authentically? Again, like being radically honest, it's really deciding who you are at the core and what it is that you wish to say, right? What is it that you wish to explore? And when you don't tell your partner your deepest desires and the things that you wish to do, explore, open a relationship, go salsa dancing with somebody else, right? That's not your partner because maybe your partner doesn't want to do salsa dancing. So you've decided to go salsa dancing. When you don't tell them what it is that you really desire because you're afraid of their reaction, you actually stunt their growth and their ability to manage their emotions, right? Because you don't say the thing to them. So they never learn to deal with the emotion if they even have it, because a lot of times we're telling the story to ourselves because we think we know our partners oh so well, but our partners are also withholding information, right? And one of the things I work with my clients is helping them to be able to literally tell each other what they really, really want. So I had one couple, and the husband of the couple was dating. They were dating separately, and the wife was dealing with some of her emotions. And she had requested that he not have oral sex with the other girl. And my comment was, why? Why are you limiting his pleasure? You're not there. So why are you saying, I'm sure he'll, brush his teeth and gargle when he comes home, but And she was, and I, so I said to him, "Do you enjoy oral sex?" You know, and he said, "Well, I like oral sex with my wife." I'm like, "No, no, no. Is that something that you enjoy, that you really want to do?" He said, "Well, I really enjoy it with her." I'm like, "See, you're circling, but you're not landing. Given the opportunity, would you enjoy oral sex with this other woman?" And he finally, after much pressure, was like, "Well, yeah." And so I had to say to the wife, "This is something that he wants to do, and you limiting his pleasure is not a good thing. One, you're not going to know if he does it or not, but you're kind of backing him into a corner because he's like, it's like the kid with the hand cutting getting the cookie that you told them they couldn't have, and they're like, "Did you eat that cookie?" No, ma'am, because it's natural for us to want to protect ourselves, right? We want to protect ourselves, so we're going, no, no. So we end up not disclosing full information, maybe even lying sometimes, because we don't want to face the consequences. So by saying the things that you want to do and having the difficult conversation, if you will, then your partner could have this emotional thing. If they even have it, they may be like, "Okay, fine, long as I know." And all the time you've been telling the story to yourself that, "Oh my God, they're not going to deal with this, they're not going to deal with that." Let it be. Give your partner an opportunity to learn how to grow through the things that they're going through as well. So when we talk about, emotional overwhelm, and when you're transitioning into the lifestyle, whether it's open relationship, right? And for those of you who may not know all the many ways that one could be ethically non-monogamous, you have open relationships where a couple or one or both people in the couple may decide to have, recreational sex with others. They may decide to make it a don't ask, don't tell, because maybe one is only doing it, or they're both doing it. And how much they don't ask and don't tell is completely up to the couple, right? They get to make their own boundaries, if you will. And so they may say, "Well, I just need to know, if you're going to be out." And so Bob may be like, "Hey, I got a date tonight. I'll be home by midnight." Or it could be something a little more information for the don't ask, don't tell. "Hi, I'm meeting up with Anthony tonight. We're going to dinner. We're going back to his place. We're going to play. I'll be home by midnight." So you get to decide. And then you have swingers, also called lifestylers, people who are in the lifestyle. A lot of times it's a couple, but it's also individuals can be in the lifestyle as well, where they are emotionally monogamous, but they are physically non-monogamous, right? So a lot of times the couples will play together, but sometimes also they play separately. So they're not looking for, romantic relationships. They're just there for a good time, not a long time. So they're just going to be there doing their thing. And single women can be in the lifestyle, and single men can be in the lifestyle, as well as lifestylers and as swingers. Then you have polygamy, which is to have multiple spouses. And the polygamy is used interchangeably a lot with people who's with the word polygyny. Polygamy just means to have more than one spouse. It doesn't matter the gender of your spouse. Whereas polygyny is one husband, more than one wife, right? And then you have polyandry, which is one wife with more than one husband. And both polygyny and polyandry are still in practice today in many places in the world. Of course, we know about polygyny from the Arab world and the Muslim world. We also know about it through the Mormons. Polyandry, which has been around just as long, is not as familiar to a lot of people, but it is in places in China, Nepal, places in Africa, and in South America, where women get to choose and have more than one husband, which of course is my preferred love style. And then you have polyamory, which is to have more than one romantic relationship at the same time, with all parties knowing and consenting. And polyamory may not always include sex. It could be a passion for something else altogether. So those are like the main umbrella terms under ethical non-monogamy, but there are many. I mean, cheating is non-monogamous, but it's not ethical. Prostitution is non-monogamous, can and could not be ethical, but consensual, but it is transactional, just like the whole sugar baby and sugar daddy relationship, right? It's transactional. Some people have, again, like the don't ask, don't tell. They might have the 100-mile rule. There's so many layers, and the beauty of it is that you get to choose. You get to choose how you want to live your ethically non-monogamous relationship. But the operative word is ethical. So when it comes to dealing with emotions, oh my God, um, it's a lot for some people. Modern society has made us believe that jealousy should be there, that if your partner's not jealous, they don't love you. If they're not checking your location, they don't care about you. If they don't got you on lockdown and trying to, not just like checking on you to make sure you're okay and you're safe on the way home, but like, who are you talking to and who's that guy at your job? And we have somehow come to believe that that is a way of loving, and it really isn't. It's very confining. So learning to manage your emotions is really the key. You're not going to become exempt from your emotions just because you decide to open up your relationship. You are still going to have every emotion you've ever had, whether it is jealousy, insecurity, envy, guilt, lust, love, what feels like love, heavy like all your emotions, happiness, joy, anger, sadness, it's all going to be there. And if you've not had an opportunity to have to manage your emotions, this will certainly put them to the test. And so when I'm working with clients who are dealing with jealousy, it's not about making you become less jealous. It is about how do you manage that emotion when you feel yourself trigger, and learning that that trigger is not from something that happens over there, right? It's in here. It's something on the inside. And so that's your kind of your check engine light. You have to kind of pop your own hood, if you will, and look inside and figure out, why am I triggered? What is going on that I am feeling this way? And so having a lot of self-awareness is really, really important, because you will struggle, in ethical non-monogamy if you are not self-aware. Because if you've been dependent upon your partner, family members, friends, to help you regulate your emotions, to calm you down, to walk you back off the ledge, they're basically enabling your, behavior. And a lot of times it's not good, it's bad, it you've got to learn to manage yourself. It is not your partner's responsibility to manage your emotions. It's just not. And so that's something that you really, really have to do. And it's something I help people do. I can help put, depending on what the challenge is, but put together a kind of a plan to help you figure out how to manage that emotion. And Jamal, are you still there? Do you have questions? Do you have a question that you'd like me to respond to or talk about when it comes to either communication breakdown or emotional overwhelm, when it comes to either jealousy or insecurity or guilt? Feel free to pop it in the chat if you do. So, um, and and a lot of times, so sometimes, rarely, but every now and again, you get both partners who want to open up the relationship at the same time, right? One might bring up the subject, and the other person's like, "Yes, let's do this," and so they kind of go in hand in hand. Other times, you have partners who one is like, "I want to do this. We can do this." The other partner's like, "I don't want to do this. I don't think we should do this. I think if we do this, we're going to put our relationship in danger. I think if we do this, we're going to hell because this is literally against our religion. Um, I think if we do this, you know, we're just not going to survive. We're not going to survive. And and then they may go along reluctantly, right? They may come along reluctantly. But then when they do, the one who's all anxious and ready to get started, they're like moving, they're like zipping around and making dates and introducing people. And the other one is like moving at the glacial pace. And you cannot move faster than the slowest person in the relationship. I know you're ready. You've read the books, you've taken some workshops. Maybe you've had a call with me or two, and you're like, nope, this is it. This is the lifestyle that I want to live for the rest of my life. And your partner's like, slow down. I'm not ready. And you do have to slow down. You know, on the flip side of that, if you're the partner that's slowing down and is moving at the glacial pace, you do not get to kind of hold your cards to your chest for a year or two or three saying, I'm not ready, I'm not ready, I'm not ready. At some point, you are going to have to deal with your own emotions when it comes to that. I'm experienced enough now to say I don't have any questions really, but I'd love to hear you talk about single men and lifestyle from the perspective, particularly one who is married versus the one who is single, since you now have been both. Hmm. Ooh. Well, I think single men in lifestyle, in the swinger community in particularly, have gotten a bad rap. And they've gotten a bad rap because some of them did not have the tools in order to navigate couples. So they come into the lifestyle, thinking this is a smorgasbord. They come into the lifestyle thinking, like this is a buffet. They can just pick up anything they want and touch anyone they want. And this is why a lot of people don't like single men in the swinger community, right? They need a coach. Yeah, a lot of the single men they do need to be coached how to communicate, how to treat couples as a unit, right? I've always liked single guys because I'm not bisexual. So the couple thing was like, that's fine if that's a perfect four-way match, which we both know it's far and few between. But um and because we could play separately, so single men were, I was always looking for single guys. But I think that the most successful single men that I know, you being one of them, um, have the ability, like I said, to navigate the couple as a unit, right? Even if the wife can play separately, they know how to navigate them, and they know that they are borrowing someone's precious woman and to treat her like their own. And some single men who've never really had deep committed relationships, they tend to treat the woman like she's just an object. And the woman picks up on that. They walk up to her and be like, hey, you're hot. You want fuck? She's like, what? Excuse me? Like, what is your name? Hi, my name is Mariposa. What is your name? They do not even introduce themselves. They don't go through the courting process. Even if the courting is 15 minutes, like, compliment her, tell her she smells nice, tell her she looks good, compliment the husband on having such a good choice for a wife. That kind of banter warms the woman up because even if she is ready to go, she still wants some kind of communication. And so that's what a lot of the single men need. And as a single woman now in the lifestyle, after 24, after being in the lifestyle as a married woman, as a single woman now in the lifestyle, um, and knowing both married men and single men in the lifestyle, when I meet single men, if they're new, some of them are like, oh my God, you have experience. Take me with you. I'm like, nope, I'm not taking you with me because you don't have any experience and you're not going to be embarrassing me. But if they are willing students and they have some experience, maybe not a lot, then I'm willing to maybe give them a little information. But I typically don't teach personally. I only teach professionally. So I'm I primarily only look for single men to date that are actually experienced. So yeah. Yeah, they would be good if they had a coach. Yeah, the four-way match is very difficult. And I tell people, listen, look how long it took you to find your partner, right? 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, 40 years. Why do you think you're just going to pop into a party and meet a couple and it's going to be automatic? Again, there's banter, there's chemistry, there's the different way that you want to engage with each other. Some people are soft swap, meaning they do everything but penetrative sex. Some people are full swap. They do everything, including penetrative sex, but they may not kiss. So, some people like a little kink. Some people want to do something outside. Some people are voyeurs, meaning they like to watch their partners. And then some people are exhibitionists. They like to be watched. So you got to have that banter. You have to find out, do they have the things that we're looking for? Yeah. What about the one taking one for the no? Taking one for the team might be good to discuss the pros and cons. There is no pros for taking one to the team. I don't believe there's a okay. Let me say this about taking one for the team. Taking one for the team, in my opinion, is taking it one time. You get a one-way pass, and there is no more taking one for the team. I don't think anyone should take one for the team, not unless they just are really doing it to please their partner. And really, that's the only reason why you're doing it, right? Because you're not doing it for you. You're doing it because your partner has decided they want this thing over here. This not person as a thing, but they want to go to this party or they want to meet with this couple, and you and the other partner are not a match. So for me, what I have done, I did my one, I'm not doing it anymore, is I've said to the male counterpart, don't think, you and I are quite a match, but these two look like they want to have a lot of fun. I'm totally okay if they have fun separately or if we just want to watch, but I'm not really interested in playing at this time. But we can watch if you want, or we can let them go off on their own since they've got a great connection. And that is, the easiest way I think to do that. Let people let if people allow each other to play separately. Now, some people don't play separately because, well, for many reasons, the husbands are like, I need to make sure my wife is safe or my girlfriend is safe. But a lot of times they don't want to play separately because they really enjoy seeing their partner with other people. So they never want to play separately because they like to see their partner. Whereas you have other people who play separately all the time because they're still dealing with some of the emotional ugh, angst with regards to seeing your partner with another person, you know? Um, well, yeah, so it's not about just saying no, as you're saying, but if there's no chemistry, like I said, you could do it one time, but I'm not going to keep taking one for the team, So either you just watch or you let the people play separately, and you and the other partner that you're not physically attracted to can, go have a drink or go sit at the bar and just, have some good conversation. Because just because you're not sexually attracted to somebody doesn't mean that you cannot be friends and form a bond in that way. Because I mean, I that has happened in different ways with my partners and I as we've been out and where there just wasn't a connection one way or the other. We're like, nah, you guys go have fun. It's okay. We're gonna hang out here. We'll see you in a bit. Of course, the timetable is now it has now been disintegrated. There's no timetable. How have you handled it, Jamal? I mean, when it comes to, are you still open to taking one for the team? Mm, I don't think anyone should have to. I don't think you I don't think people should also have to sacrifice within the relationship. Not saying that taking one for the team is a sacrifice, but I don't think people should have to sacrifice. I think finding ways to, and I don't think people should have to tolerate either, right? But finding ways to come to an agreement, and then really striving hard to go from agreement to acceptance, learning to accept your partner for who they are. And when it comes to ethical non-monogamy, I don't know if it's just, well, I do know because of modern monogamy, how it's made it feel. But somebody would rather, have their partner say they were bisexual than to say they want to be ethically non-monogamous or a swinger. They can almost find that more accepting. And it's just weird. Um, like taking one for the team. I did it occasionally for who, and then I just stopped it. I'm not good at faking it, so trying to take one for the team, yeah, it doesn't work. I don't know too many people that have had any success at taking one for the team, other than the one time, right? But you shouldn't have to. But again, thank you, Jamal, for your input. I do appreciate it. Um, having that communication, and having that communication before you find yourself in front of somebody, right? So you're not going to wait till you get to the club, the party, the takeover, the cruise to have these discussions. You should have these discussions before so that you can have the emotional moment before, so that if it comes up, you would have already had the discussion. You already know the plan. You already know what you're going to say, right, to the couple or the person. So having that open communication, having that radical honesty, like, listen, when we get to this event, I want to find couples and couples only, and I want to have as many couples as we can have in the course of 5 days. Some people are like one and done. They're just there. They go from one couple to the next couple, and that's they're just ticking it off, but it's not everybody's thing. I've been on many trips, more than I can count on two hands, and have never done anything with anyone because I just didn't find a connection, and I don't believe in, like Jamal said, faking it or forcing it. Yeah. Insecure people are the ones that ask their partner to take one for the team, but they are the very folks that shouldn't be swinging or exploring any other kind, and yeah, any other kinds of monogamy. Yeah, they do need to get that get that part under control. That is so true. That is so true. And I have found so many instances with couples where, the more dominant one is, come on, it's going to be fine. You can do it. And the more reserved or insecure one sometimes is the one who is sacrificing their needs, wants, and desires just to keep their partner happy. And that's just not a good thing. Your partner should come to the understanding that you will not do that for them. And again, these are conversations we want to have ahead of time before we're faced with, oh my God, I can't believe I'm in the middle of this, you know, 200 person puppy pile in the big playroom. How did I get here? So, do I want that kind of play? Do I not want that kind of play? Do I want to be touched? Do I don't want to be touched? Can anybody join? And do we need to, give permission? Especially if you're in a playroom situation and it's dark, not pitch black, although they have those, but it's dark and someone may come in and want to join you. But there's the etiquette. You don't touch without getting consent. And so yeah, thank you for that, Jamal. And so understanding what you can and cannot control in ethical non-monogamy. And as much as we want to control our partners, that is not a desirous relationship. They are grown adults who can navigate their life on their own. They did it before they met you. They can do it, you know, again. And that is not something you really, really want to do. And a lot of times we put up these boundaries, right? And I always say boundaries versus, borders, right? We put up what we call boundaries, but really they're just mechanisms to control our partner. But we're like, no, no, it's a boundary. And actually, it's not. It's more like a border. So, an example of the difference between a boundary and a border: borders are like the cement walls in the tunnel that the boat goes through, right? They're immovable. They don't, they never move. Whereas boundaries, you want your boundaries to be more like the shoreline. You want this ebb and flow, right? You want it to kind of move with the situation. And so when you and your partner, or even for yourself, you set your boundaries, you want to have some flexibility. And I've always said to any of my partners, like, listen, these are the boundaries. But if you're somewhere in the world and you come upon a situation that you believe you must involve yourself in, but it will cross a boundary, this involvement, I don't expect you to stop doing what you're doing in the middle of whatever you're doing and call me, because you can, navigate your life on your own as a grown adult. But I'm asking that you do consider me. Just take a moment and go, okay, so how is she going to feel if I break this boundary? When I come home and then I tell her that I broke this boundary. And if you can deal with that consequence, if any, it may not be a consequence, right? But if you're like, yep, I'm good, I'll talk to her when I get home, then go ahead. That's my take on it, because I'm not here to control anybody, because I don't want anyone trying to control me. So you go ahead and do what you feel as though you need to do. And uh, I really think it's important that you do, again, have some flexibilities with your boundaries, because when you first get involved, I don't care if it's polygyny or polyandry, polyamory, open, you were literally trying to protect the relationship. And, you know, have the understanding that as you grow in this new community, as you grow within yourself as a person who's decided to become ethically non-monogamous, things are going to change. You might start off with the no kissing rule. Why? Because you're like, oh, I don't know, it's the hygiene, it's this, I don't know where their mouth has been, that. And then you meet this person and you're like, oh my God, I just gotta kiss him. I just gotta kiss him. And then you cross that boundary and your partner's like, I thought we said no kissing. You're like, yeah, but we need to maybe sit back down to table and have a discussion about the no kissing boundary, because I've discovered I want to kiss people, and then you will state your case and your partner will or will not agree, possibly, but then, you can like, I've changed my mind. And you have the right to change your mind. It doesn't mean your partner's going to change theirs. They may still feel the same way about kissing others and you kissing others. And they may be like, well, you need to gargle and floss before you come back over here. I don't know. But it could be some and any of all of that, right? But trying not to manage again and control our partners every thought, every move, it's like, so now they can't even think about anybody. I had popped on a panel on TikTok, and the question of the day was, um, is texting someone is texting cheating? Is texting the equivalent of cheating? It's like, no, texting is not cheating. How is that cheating? And they had this whole rigmarole about, yeah, well, no, because in the court, family court, divorce court in Texas, you could use those texts as proof of cheating. I'm like, well, the texts are not the cheating. The text is the text. You can use the text to show that somebody did eventually cheat, but texting itself is not cheating. And so they were like, no, but what if your partner is, it's like emotional cheating. I'm like, there's no such thing as emotional cheating. That's something also that somebody made up in monogamy, right? It's all made up, because now you're trying to, control your partner's thoughts. Now you're like, no, you cannot think about anybody else. You can only think of me. You only have eyes for me. have hands and lips and genitals for me, right? You cannot do anything else. You are making your partner, the center of your universe. And I think sometimes when our partners are the center of our universe, if we ever break up, the pain is so devastating for so many of us because they have become our whole world. And you want to maintain your autonomy in your relationship. You still want to have your friends and things you do on your own without your partner, right? And because if there's a breakup, I'm not saying you're not going to be sad, you're not going to be heartbroken. Of course you will be, but it won't be as devastating because you still have other interests other than everything being tied to your partner. So, and Jamal says, it depends on who's being texted and what the boundaries were before the text. Right. So, yeah, it does depend. So, if they're texting someone, from opposite sex, and if they're making plans, but they haven't actually done anything, that's not the text is not the cheating, right? The text may be leading to the cheating, but the texting itself is not cheating. That's kind of my point, right? And I had another couple that I knew, been married 30 something years, have been in a lifestyle maybe 15 years. And the wife discovered that the husband, while sitting on the couch with her, watching TV, was texting, with a couple of girls. Now they're in the lifestyle, right? They play together, they play separate, they travel together. They've been this is a long game, right? And and she's like, he's been sitting there texting. I'm like, okay. She said, well, we had this this rule that you're not texting, we can't be texting people in the lifestyle when we're home. And I said, okay, but when did you put this rule together? It was like 12 years ago. I feel like when they first got in, I'm like, does it still matter? Like at this point. And I said, and if you're discovering that he's been texting, sitting next to you on the couch, clearly he needs some attention. And you're not giving him any. Because if you were paying him some attention, one, you wouldn't have realized he's been doing it for more than a month. And two, a lot of times we get so comfortable in the relationship that we go to work, we come home, we eat, we plop on the damn couch, and then we veg all night. That's not engaging. That's not paying attention to each other. You're just vegging out on the couch. You're not talking about anything. You're not engaged in any kind of conversation. And what person doesn't want somebody? And he's an older gentleman, so of course the girls and he's aged very well. The girls who are texting him are younger. So I'm like, the man is 70. You don't think he knows he's 70? He knows he's 70. He is getting a thrill that someone is paying him some attention. You know, getting a thrill. Uh-oh, what'd you say, Jamal? After we got engaged, that lying piece of crap. Oh, yeah, that's true. Well, yes, Jamal is correct. He's making reference to somebody who continued texting somebody as if they weren't, but they were lying about it. So if you're lying, that's deceit, right? So it's not the text that's the cheating, it's the lying, it's the deceit, it's the actual cheating, going to have sex without your partner's, knowledge and consent and lying about it. That's the cheating, not the actual texting. I can understand the connection and how people want to say that texting is cheating, but it literally isn't. It's planning, yes. If you lie about the texting, that's lying. It's still not cheating, but sure, I may be splitting hairs here for some people, you know. Hey, Lorenzo, how are you, love? Right. It's the lying and dishonesty that creates the cheating. That's the same for monogamy and for non-monogamy, right? That's what makes ethical non-monogamy ethical, right? Or ethical monogamy, right? It's the lying and the deceit is where the ethics goes out the window. It's not the actual act of the texting in itself, right? And so even though, people have said, yeah, I'm down, I'm open, I'm a swinger, I can do all these things, but they're still being unethical, even though they have claimed to be ethically non-monogamous, right? They're still being unethical. And a lot of us would be like, why would you need to do that when you have the agreement with your partner? You guys are accepting of the fact that you were playing with others. And maybe you have the agreement that you can play separately. You just have the boundary of, condoms and knowledge and safety. But then you go off without mentioning anything to your partner. So then that's cheating, right? That's unethical. That is deceitful, especially if you then turn around and lie about it. Now it becomes deceitful. And, people always ask, why would anybody do that when they have the agreement that they can go have sex with others? And I'm like, because people are just cheaters at heart, and giving them, permission or an agreement that they can doesn't mean they're going to stop doing it. They are going to do it because they are cheaters. They don't understand boundaries. They don't respect your boundaries. They don't respect their own boundaries, and they're cheaters. So that is what cheaters do, without a doubt. So yeah, the lie is the treat. The lie is definitely the cheat. So yeah, and so I have always found that to be very interesting when I have met people, and they're cheating within the non-monogamous relationship. I'm like, but why? I mean, it happened to me. And I'm like, it's just the most ridiculous thing. And so here we are, rolling down through the end of my live here. And I don't know for some of you guys, or most of you guys, but those who may be coming to this live in the future, if you have either had an opportunity to pick up my African American Guide to Ethical Non-Monogamy. It literally is a guide to how, why, and with whom to explore your expanding lifestyle, your love style. It covers all the major love styles that I mentioned: open, poly, swinging, how they function, how people, act, within those roles, the boundaries, what the expectations are within those roles. Is great information on communication, boundaries, and the such. It's a guide. It's a really easy read, but if you're new to ethical non-monogamy, you're trying to, navigate it on your own, and you have yet to book a consult with me, getting that book, which is available at organicloving.com, as well as being available on Amazon and where all books are sold. And then right after that is an African American Guide to Ethical Non-Monogamy, the workbook, right? So here you have exercises and tools for navigating non-monogamy through radical honesty, emotional awareness, and authentic communication. Now, you can get the workbook without having to get the guide. If you get them together, of course, that makes it even better. But the workbook is a standalone. It is good for individuals, couples, circles, and quads. There's exercises for you as an individual and exercises for you with your partner or partners to do together. And it covers, it gives you tools and prompts and exercises and a lot of things, questions that you might not have thought about for yourself when it comes to navigating ethical non-monogamy. There's also the ethical non-monogamy quiz that's on my organicloving.com website. Like, how do you know you're poly? How do you even know you're ethically non-monogamous? Like, who told you? Who told you? Right? And a lot of people are getting on the polyamorous bandwagon, but you may be better suited for swinging or polygyny, you know, maybe polyandry, maybe an open relationship, but don't ask, don't tell is better for you to navigate. So the ethical non-monogamy quiz could really help you figure out, and it's free, and determine what is the best way for me to be ethically non-monogamous. And it's also possible that you and your partner may not venture into ethical non-monogamy the exact same way. One may be open, one may be swinging, one may be poly, and it's you can do that as well. And for sure, one of the things that if I hadn't mentioned that for those of you who showed up, and if you show up in the future and before midnight on the 16th, I do have a special bundle right for you for some coaching tools. So I have my 90-minute breakthrough session. If you sign that up and book that, you get to take $100 off of that 90-minute session. Normally it's 497, so you would get it for 397, right? And you will use the coupon code live 100, right? And so that's only good until the 16th. So if you come here after the 16th watching the replay, but if it's before midnight, you can still get it. So if it's for an individual or a couple, you get $100 off with live 100. Plus, you will get the guidebook to go along with it, included, as well as the Say It Like You Mean It digital conversation deck that I will send to you. So all of that, that's worth an additional 50, $60 almost to go along with the course. So we'll follow along with not the course, the workbook. And if you then decide to upgrade to the 6 week, that 497 will be applied to the 6 week coaching for you. So that is the special that we have. And I appreciate you guys who did pop in. And thank you, honey. Got to go run and have a great dinner. Thanks for hanging with me tomorrow. Thanks for popping in, Lorenzo. I do appreciate it. But listen, you can also always book a free clarity call with me. It's a 20-minute call. If you go to organicloving.com, excuse me, slash coaching, and I think the link is in the description here. You can book the free 20-minute call, get your most pressing questions answered. You don't have to go through this alone. I am here to support you. I am not here to necessarily tell you what to do and how to do it when it comes to your decisions, but I'm here to support you in them. So whether you decide to move forward and do swinging instead of poly or poly instead of swinging, I am not to tell you which way to do it, but I'm here to help you get the best out of the relationship that you are designing for you and or your partners. And so I thank you guys for popping by either now or in the future. And feel free to reach out to me on Organic Lovin'. You could, if you also, you can DM me because I'm in, as I mentioned, a number of the groups if I can answer any questions for you at that point. So it's been great. Again, take advantage of getting the 90-minute breakthrough session with $100 off using the code LIVE100 when you book the link, and you get the African American guide. And you don't have to be African American, just so you know, right? There are some cultural aspects in there, but it is not a requirement. Live 100 get you the workbook, get your 90-minute session with me so we can do a deep dive into the things and the support that I could give to you and I can help you. And also you get the conversation, the Say It Like You Mean It conversation deck, which is a digital deck. You can be able to access it on your phone, and you get it. It's a lot of prompts, questions you get to ask your partner and ask yourself. It's great for vetting as well. So until next time, thank you so much for joining me. Um, Everything is about the things that you want to do and doing it best for yourself. So, as I love to say, your love, your rules, and your freedom. Until next time, bye bye. Thank you.